Hey everyone, time to review Terminator Genisys.
Which is kind of like a reboot of the Terminator franchise, and it's very easy to see that by watching this movie because this movie immediately retcons 1984 Terminator and kind of retcons the entire franchise because it retcons T2, T3, maybe T4, and the Sarah Connor Chronicles TV series, of course. Um, takes place in an alternate timeline which Kyle Reese, where in his childhood he says Genesis is Skynet, and in a couple hours bombs are gonna fall. If I can remember, can't fully remember it. And John Connor saves him as a kid, and Kyle Reese becomes a member of the Resistance, who fight each other in an LA war between Skynet and these Terminators. But then they send a Terminator to 1984, to which they had to send John Connor to 1984 to stop it and save Sarah Connor. But seems like Sarah Connor is already has be prepared for battle because she got to help with Pops, who is like the other T-800, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And they go to 2017 where they meet up with John Connor again, only to be revealed that he's actually has been turned into a Terminator, sent to kill them and to bring Skynet to the world and destroy humanity. um, and I've always heard people say that it's the worst of this franchise. And I can see why. It can get a little too bonkers, especially at 21 minutes into the movie, where at the really well recreations of the 1984 original scenes, it kind of has old Terminator versus young Terminator, and then T1000 in the T 1984 Terminator movie, where he's hunting down Reese and killing cops. And Sarah Connor's now strong, and there's another Terminator that is aged. Um, But it's not unwatchable. I really had a lot of fun watching this movie, probably because of the action. It's still like really good. It's a lot of fun, and honestly, I really enjoy watching the action in this movie. And I thought Arnold was sometimes was kind of funny. I thought he was well entertaining, especially when he still acts with a very straight face, though he does smile weirdly constantly. Um, And I thought the idea of doing like an old Terminator and where he raises Sarah Connor as a child it's a very interesting idea. And I thought even though it's a ridiculous idea, Terminator versus like good Arnold versus bad Arnold is kind of fan fictionist thing idea to do, but it made for kind of a fun action honestly, since it has bad Arnold being stronger than good Arnold, but before getting shot by Sarah Connor. And I thought Byung-hun Lee, who plays Storm Shadow in G.I. Joe movies, actually did a good T-1000. Not as good as Robert Patrick, but he had some um he had the idea of like what T-1000 was like in terms of how he acts and how he moves and how he runs. He did a good job, honestly, for a minor role that he was unfortunately given only 20 minutes of screen time or less. I thought J.K. Simmons, who plays the cop that was from 1984, that was going crazy in 2017, like trying to convince everyone that Kyle and Sarah are from the future slash past, and that are Terminators. Like he was really kind of interesting because when I saw him, I was like, is he playing Superman? But no, he's playing the cop front that was early in the movie before Sarah Connor saves Kyle. Um, And my thoughts on Emilia Clarke and John Courtney, it's kind of interesting because while there are no Linda or Michael, there are some moments in this movie where I saw Emilia Clarke to Linda Hamilton. They look kind of a little similar, honestly. I'm not gonna lie. I feel a little Hamilton in her. Though at times her performances is probably because of how young she is, like really really young. And I've seen a lot of great child actors, but she sounds a little too young and too new to acting, even though she was already a star with Game of Thrones, of course. Maybe it's the direction or the script. I don't know. Probably is. Giant Courtney's probably worse than Emilia Clarke and Arnold and Jason, which we'll get into second. It's just that he doesn't have the energy or the presence that Michael Biehn gave to Linda in the original. Um, he's like the lead main character of this movie, because the movie focused a lot on Kyle, but he didn't make for a very good lead, honestly, compared to John and Linda, or even Danny in Dark Fate. And his chemistry between him and Sarah are kind of forced since they were arguing for most of the movie, and then get they get to each other at the end, which kind of felt a little forced and kind of gave me a chuckle a little bit. But let's get into the big boy, the whole evil John Connor, played by Jason Clarke. No relation to Amelia, by the way. It doesn't make any sense why John Connor is really open into killing Sarah and Kyle, because if he did, he would never existed whatsoever. And there's no point in the movie where he doesn't get redeemed at the end, where he doesn't get his machine part removed from him, or he then apologizes and gets happy ending. He just stays evil for the entire movie. Terminator said addressed that there's no cure for him, honestly, at the earlier, but I wish they did something, because he really is kind of a bit too evil, honestly. Matt Smith is more, and it was kind of like the real villain behind this, but John Connor as the Terminator is kind of like a weird idea, honestly. It reminds me a lot of Luke Devereaux from the retconning where they turned the lead of the franchise into the villain. And I found that really odd thing to do, honestly. So I really thought the Terminator, uh, the John Connor being turned Terminator was a weird idea. But but overall, it was a really watchable movie. Honestly, it really.
I really do think it's a really fun movie, even though it can get really messy and it can get really bonkers and kind of stupid. It has a good action, good acting for the most part, and honestly, great visuals, especially in that opening, since this the first time the Terminator shows how they time travel. Closest was the Sarah Connor Chronicles, of course. But this is official what it looks really good. The opening was a lot of fun until 21 minutes into the movie. Um, and overall, I thought Genisys was a pretty decent movie. It's not good, it's not great, but it's fun. Give it like a 6 out of 10. What are your thoughts on this? Peace out and bye.